everyone could, on their own respective teams be signed by now. We talked about Tavares. We talked about Nyes. Does feel like the Florida Panthers, it's amazing. They're 3 straight Cup finals. They've won 2 in a row, and they're everything when it comes to free agency. What's going to happen with Ekblad and Marchand, and what's going to happen with Sam Bennett. But as of now, they won the Cup a week ago. No one signed. What is the latest on those 3 in Florida?
Yeah, good question. So they have made their push. So I've talked about this on Insider Trading here this evening for SportsCenter, but the Panthers have made their push on their big 3. They've made offers to Bennett. They made an offer to Brad Marchand. Big presentation. And I don't think there was an actual offer to Aaron Ekblad, but certainly a renewed conversation to try and see what it would take in his case. Because that negotiation went dormant for many, many months between Ekblad and Florida. So the point being that, I don't know. They just decided to shelve it for some reason. You never know whether it's one side or the other, but, you actually see that very often, though, during the season, during the playoffs, where you don't want to deal with that stuff. But they are talking again. I would say if I rank the 3, I feel it's Bennett most likely to sign. Doesn't mean he will necessarily, but most likely to sign. Marchand truly feels like 50-50 to me, guys, right in the middle. And I think Ekblad most likely to go to market. That's my sense right now. If you ask me in 48 hours, I may have a different update, but that's where it feels like right now for me on those 3. And so Florida pushing hard, trying to get those guys signed. I just don't think they'll be able to get all 3. I think 2 out of 3 is probably, I think, the best they can do right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what's interesting is, we're getting closer to July 1st, and last year Sam Reinhart was in a similar situation, and he signed right before July 1 and got his long-term deal. But, what's interesting is I think you can make a case. Clearly, it's very obvious why you'd want to keep those 3 guys. But if they do, I think you got a window of another couple of years where you're going to be very competitive. You might win another cup, maybe 2 more cups. But at some point, it's going to be too much. If you're committed to everybody, and Bob's 37 and he's coming up, I understand why you'd keep the band together. I totally get it for the next year or 2. But if Marchand's, 4-year deal and Ekblad's 7 or 8, and Bennett's 7 or 8, at some point, Florida's going to look around and say, we got 9 guys on long-term deals, and they're not in their prime anymore. I wouldn't be shocked if they tried to stay creative and flexible down there.
Yeah, exactly. And, eventually they'll have to sign Lundell, who's a really emerging star. But that's why all the little moves seem to add up for Florida. They made a little trade today that didn't get that much attention, but they went out and they replaced their backup goalie, and they brought in Tarasov from Columbus. Yeah. Noodles would know more than me, but I know why they traded for him. A, he has a relationship with Bobrovsky, but B, he's 6'5", and I know from talking to Roberto Luongo, who heads the goalie department there in Florida, that's one of the major requirements to end up on the Panthers rosters is size and goal. And so not a big headline today. Almost no one would be talking about it outside of Florida. But it would not surprise me if we're talking about 5 months and Tarasov's, Bobrovsky's injured and Tarasov's having this amazing run for Florida. It wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, there is a history there. Obviously, Zito came from Columbus. Greg Campbell came from Columbus. There is... they know the player. Because right away I saw, Tarasov to Florida. Okay, there's a direct line there that they have a history with the player. So it's a smart move by them. They really make cagey moves, man. And my point is,
well, that's the thing. What I'm saying is often the moves that end up being big for them are the ones we didn't really talk about in the moment. Like when they signed Verhaeghe from Tampa years ago, it was like, oh, okay, a good depth signing. Guy becomes a star. I mean, it's just so many of these have added up for them. You're right, Brian. I mean, obviously wanting to re-sign Sam Bennett and Brad Marchand is obvious, and you understand why they're trying to do it. But I think it's more the under the cover moves that they keep making is the reason why they've distanced themselves from the rest of the league here the last couple of years.